Hello world! Patricia O'Connor and Reba Darcy here. Today on the Bonsai Balcony, we're going to go out on the balcony and discuss what's going on. First, we're going to, as we sashay our way out on the balcony, we're just going to say hello to a few trees on our way out. This is in the doorway, right in the way, because it will go over to the bench tonight for a little bit of clip and grow pruning. Pruning a la clip and grow. And then so while we're here, we're just going to frame up these bald cypresses right quick. Oh yeah. They are, it's quite warm. It's a smoky fall day in Alameda, but it's still quite warm. We got well above 80 up here on the 4th floor today. So that's just kind of more back and forth. But they are calling for some possible wet weather by the weekend. So we have that to look forward to. All of our big pines are looking excuse me, all of our big pines are looking pretty good, and as is our ponderosa. What's the love about our ponderosa? Everything. What's not to love about our ponderosa is I have it styled right now from what we had done about a month ago, and all of those long branches, all of this stuff is just crisscrossing in front of our beautiful trunk line. And, we've got a spiral in there that's just, to die for. But the way it's designed right now, it just kind of breaks. It breaks a huge bonsai rule in that all of those branches just keep crossing back and forth in front of the main trunk line. That's kind of what happens when you are dealing with a piece of Yamadori that's a couple of years out of collection. This is the part that I get to do. Over time, we will, I've already stated at some point, I'll begin grafting on that tree. And as I graft Japanese black pine to this tree, our successful grafts will be farther back on the branches, which will allow us to cut back those lengths, even some of that stuff that we have maybe invested some nice spiral to, and that the collector had invested some nice wiring to, we may cut or gin all of that off once we have flourishing buds going farther back on all of those limbs. So when that happens, that will enable us to have lesser length to all of those. It's like those are long limbs with a lot of growth on the end of them, and that's what's keeping the tree sustained and happy. And if there's not anything growing back behind that, you can't cut off behind there. So that's kind of what trees want to do in the wild, and that's kind of what we get to fix. The cork bark is looking good. The 17-year from seed would look good if I would get it in focus, but it's looking good. But I wanted to talk a little bit about with our temperatures. I keep going on about here in the Bay Area. It's November 1st, and today it got in the 80s up here. So it's not incredibly hot. The trees have had hotter than that this summer, but at the same time, that kind of keeps them from going into full winter mode. I probably can't do maple work in the typical sense of the word right now, because the sap would still be flowing just like it's full on growing season. So there's that to be. But the good news is some of my other trees, my evergreens, are making really good use of that. I've got a lot of good healthy growth coming out of my coastal oak. But I was finding the balance on my pine trees to be a little tricky this guy. I repotted it, and that ended up being an off-camera repot. I wish I'd have been able to show you guys when I repotted it, but I had intended when I repotted. That's Frankenpine, and when I repotted Frankenpine, I intended to do almost a slip pot, and to do almost no root work. And when I got in there and looked, there wasn't much root to remove. Here's what I'm trying to say here. For me, my mix needs to be close to a boon mix. And this tree and this tree, for instance, we're growing more in an akadama mix. And I have figured out that doesn't work as well for me, because it means I need to slow down my watering, because akadama holds water longer. So it's not that I don't need to use akadama, it's that I need to be using that in a ratio. And whenever I started trying to use, like for instance, these cypress trees, there's some dressing on top, but underneath that, I was going for just ramifying those roots as much as I could. So those are growing in a huge tub of just pure akadama. So I was all about it. So this guy got that, and another tree that I had a hard time balancing the water on that, and that was a really nice tree. And it too, I bought from a grower who grew just in akadama, as is the grower who started this tree. This tree is still in the pot that I bought it in, and whenever we have this hot and cold, and I don't know exactly what the weather is going to do, the end result for that is that I flip a coin, but usually decide to water rather than take a chance on killing the tree, because it takes longer to water one to death. So that means on my days off, I have a couple of days off to be able to watch them better and actually water them when they need to be watered, and not when I'm looking at it and going, how dry is this going to get before I come back, kind of a thing. So this tree could be greener, is what I'm saying. It definitely could be greener, and as is Frankenpine. And what I was seeing when I repotted Frankenpine is it didn't have the type of root development I would have expected. The roots were long; they had grown. They were at the bottom of the pot, and I had a few inches of roots where I could see were new growth, but they hadn't filled up that little pot, not by a long shot. And I think that was probably because it stayed a little too wet. So hopefully I mixed up the soil a little better on this one. Now it's in a little closer to, it's still a lot of akadama in there. And don't think I'm preaching against akadama. I'm not. I'm just saying I don't need to be using it in pure form. I like the look, but I don't need to be using it in pure form when I have other trees that are in a 1/3 akadama, 1/3 lava, 1/3 pumice, because those trees are going to need watering on a frequency higher than the ones that are pure akadama. And I don't, so if you're not going to water them as frequently, they probably need to be maybe a little bit away from them so they don't get incidental waterings or any of that stuff. So that was just kind of some of my thoughts on there. I have decided that we were out of nesting season as the crows fly over, but they're always the crows. I got a thing going with the crows here. They're my buds. But I've decided that we're far away from nesting season, and I haven't been seeing the doves lately. They were so cute, but they were so destructive. It's just like, you bastards. So I moved the little seedlings back out on the ledge here. So far, they seem to like it and be doing really good. It's a lot easier for me to tend to them. It's a lot easier for me to water those guys here. I moved the ponderosas back there where they are, and they seem to be doing fine. They get mixed light there because of these guys, but as you can see, they're in full now. At other parts of the day, the ones that are in shadow are in full, and maybe some of that swats around. If it looks like anybody's not getting enough, I'll get a feel for that. But right now, it seems to be going well. I've moved those guys there. They seem to be all doing really well. I've gone through and cleaned up all of our little pesticide pests, not pesticides. Cleaned up all of our little pests that we had. And I was looking at a thing where I might have been looking at some kind of woolly aphids, and I also had a thing where I was dealing with a few caterpillars. So those guys have all been dealt with, and I'm just really enjoying the space the way it's playing out currently, and just kind of like waiting for it to get a little bit cooler. It's kind of like I've got some shows in my mind that I'm really looking forward to rolling on, and sometimes that can be a little bit of a curse. Not like writer's block. Well, it's kind of like writer's block. Like I have a show in my mind that I want to do for us whenever the time is right, and I thought the time would be right pretty soon, about a month and a half ago, and it's hard to be as creative about what I'm going to do on the next when I kind of have this tree like cocked and loaded in my imagination as what we're going to get to, and it just keeps backing up with the weather. Kind of an odd thing, but that's okay. We'll get to it. If I can, I don't know how well that's trying to flag. We have some cypress balls growing in there. Yeah, there they are. I think I'm flashing you with the camera at the same time I'm seeing them, but there they are. I kind of want to keep an eye on them. I'd like to harvest those when they're ready. I don't know. I always saw them as a kid, but I didn't really pay a whole lot of attention to them. I rarely remember seeing cypress trees sprout. It was just like they were just something that was there. Anyway, that is a little quick rundown on how the balcony's looking, how our ponds are looking, how our bald cypresses are looking. I look forward to when this thing finally defoliates, whenever it decides it's fall and it turns some colors and we lose all those fronds. I wouldn't defoliate it right now. It's still photosynthesizing quite a bit. So I'm just going to let that run and continue to make energy, but we'll get fall here eventually. And when that happens, I'm going to take my chainsaw and or a grinder apparatus that I have rigged up and reshape our chops to make sure that our rollover rolls over in a way that's convincing when we pull up to the kind of like pull up to finished with our taper. That's what we're doing now, and we're a couple of years out on our taper, so it's a good time to start cutting off any square corners. It's a good time to start, so that we don't make some weird shoulders that makes it look obvious where the tree was chopped. I have to like cut or grind or whatever that back in. Also, some of the rollover on the original chops, I had cut them back with trunk splitters, chewed away the edges and everything, but they have high centers. So that needs to be dug out or ground down. And I also think that some of the rollover is causing a little inverse taper or will. And I'm going to camfer that back down and put a beveled edge on those cuts where they are, because I feel like some of these, and show you. Well, I can focus and show you. You can see, no, you can't. I can move the bushes and then my fingers are in the way. This edge is sticking out, and when that rolls over, it'll still be sticking out in a way. So what I would want to do is grind that down. But I also have chainsaw, and my chainsaw is on the ready. We can take down any edges that we don't like and redo that taper. But I also am looking forward to taking down, there's a high spot that I don't know if the depth of field at this angle. There's a little high stuff in there that should come out. And the same with this one. The back one probably needs the most, as it would turn out. So I look forward to doing that, and I also look forward to cutting that tree back to our summer. Last fall, we cut a lot of our foundation back and then got tertiary, and some of that was growing out so long that we cut it back, and we now have tertiary. So that's what's going on there. While this year the tree grew a lot more branches, and we're just letting them all run unless they were going to cause reverse taper or bar branches, or anything that would cause us problems we clipped. But otherwise we let everything else, the branches that it just put out right next to the ones that we had tertiary, we'd let that fly as long as it didn't look like it was going to cause us let it have all the energy it wants. And then once all the fronds fall off, I'm going to go through, and maybe a few of those new branches will fill in places where we like their results better than what we had before for whatever reason. So there's always a chance that something that starts anew can what I call make the big league and become part of the design. But at the end of the day, this is not exactly what I would like the finished trees to look like. In the canopy, I'd like to be able to see what's going on a little better, but at the same time, we would have a lot more taper when that happens too. So that's all part of the game. But I look forward to them being bare enough for me to go through and do and then go through and make the clippings. And then when I've removed the unnecessary stuff, and whenever the stuff that we are going to keep have been cut back to the right length, then Frida and I will go in there with the chainsaw and the grinder and do what I think will be some of our only trunk work or heavy woodwork on this tree. So yeah, that's kind of what's going on with the cypress trees, and kind of what I'm looking forward to doing whenever it's November 1st and these things are still just about as green. Well, you can see a lot of dieback in there, but that's mostly the inner stuff. That's just the inside scruffy stuff that wasn't getting a lot of light anyway. It's just getting rid of the stuff that didn't cash in. So, and the stuff that's still out in the light is still pretty green. All right, that's pretty much where we are here on our balcony today. I have got about 4 more weeks with my Ponderosa before it goes to Peter T's garden upstate from here a little bit. That way it will overwinter and shut down like it's supposed to and won't run itself into the ground, which is important. Sometime after that, maybe in this next year, we can start the grafting process a little bit. If we could, put 4 or 5 attempts on there, maybe get a couple of them to take. That would be pretty awesome. And we could do that over the next couple of years. We would eventually have enough black pine buds on there to start sustaining the tree, and then at that point we could start some kind of handover. That would be nice. Until then, I should probably continue to do this winterizing if I don't want anything to happen to the sky, and I don't. This is a really beautiful tree. Tonight we are going to go back over our cork bark oak and try to make our new growth a little bit more manageable. We did lose quite a bit again this summer to powdery mildew, but it's most of the branches that had that suffered dieback are already starting to flush back out, and the bases where they were are going kind of nuts too. So there's a few things that we can just go ahead and cut back now, and that will further entice more of what we see here. This is an evergreen here, so it should continue to flush out the whole time. I mean, it should just start going nuts. And if we do a little bit of cut back, prune back some of this straight up stuff, and it's bare, why not? Out of all the things we want to have choices, maybe we can cut some of this tiny stuff that's going straight up, and that will change the hormone allocation, which will just get it more likely to produce buds that we do want, which is good. But even some of the stuff that I was thinking we were going to lose, we do have new buds coming out on a lot of it. So we're not just going to go machete and stuff right yet, but maybe keep it out of the evening light some. Right now it's especially harsh, and it would be nice if we could get all of this new stuff in here to flourish and get a better handle on what we have. So I probably won't be cutting a lot of that, but I will be trimming back some of this stuff. That's what's going to happen tonight. Like and subscribe if you guys have not already. We are going to be doing one tonight, and then we will go back outside mañana and do something fun on the balcony. I appreciate you, and Rita Darcy appreciates you, and thank you so much for watching.